Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Zachary Rainey. I'm the Partnerships and Events Manager here at One Valley. Today, I'll be joined by Aliyah Morphis, Head of Partnerships over there at Hubspot. She's going to be running us through a little bit about content strategy and kind of how you can build that for your own business. Before we kind of get started and get into that, I would like to tell you a little bit about One Valley, who we are and what we do. One Valley, for the uninitiated, I know a lot of the members of this attendee, a lot of the attendees in this webinar actually are coming from the One Valley community, but One Valley has created Passport, which is the world's most comprehensive online innovation digital platform. We connect entrepreneurs, emerging startups with investors, vital resources, tools, mentors, perks, including Hubspot, one of our gracious perk partners. Members of Passport can redeem over $1 million worth of perk opportunities. Some of these would be kind of besides Hubspot, would be like Airtable and Zoom and things like that. Many of the resources you're already leveraging for your business. So if you'd like to learn more, feel free to look over at Passport at One Valley. Just to let our community know, Hubspot is one of our perk partners. They are offering 2 separate deals to our community. The Passport Pro members get 90% off HubSpot's CRM tools, which is a crazy discount. And also there is a 30% wide discount for the entire One Valley community. So if you are looking for a CRM product, if you're looking for a little bit of help setting that up and stuff, HubSpot's fantastic at doing that. And we're kind of excited to be doing the webinar today to kind of help them announce that. As I said, we're joined by Aliyah today. She's a Bay Area native with a background in B2B tech marketing and sales. Before joining HubSpot, she worked with large organizations like LinkedIn, consulted with hundreds of startups on their marketing and sales strategies, and founded her own company, Tress Hair Co., which is a hair platform that recommends personalized resources based on their unique hair profile. Now, Aliyah gets to combine all of those experiences at HubSpot, where she uses those to build meaningful partnerships and help startups grow their education, scholarship, and mentorship. Aliyah, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm pretty much just going to be handing the mic to you to I know we have kind of an agenda to go into, but I'll be joining you later to kind of get into the Q&A after this, okay?
Perfect. Thanks, Zach. Hello, everyone. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're dialing in from. Excited to be here with you today and share more about building a scalable content marketing strategy. As Zach noted, I hail from HubSpot for Startups, where we have 3 pillars that are here to support you. One is educational resources, which are like this, but also we have a variety of on-demand resources. So if you just want a quick masterclass on how to grow your sales team, that's the place to go. You can watch it at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. because I know being an entrepreneur allows for a very hectic and chaotic schedule at times. But we also have a very integrated platform with this slide is outdated, over 1,000 integrations now, which is really exciting. So whatever tools you're leveraging, I'm sure we can find a way to ensure that we bring them all together. And then lastly, is the discount piece that Zach mentioned. Our CRM is entirely free to One Valley's entire community, and you can receive anywhere from 30 to 90% off, depending on your standing with One Valley. So that being said, I am here to help you and your startups by sharing the right resources needed to scale. So for today, we're going to be talking about the 3 marketing challenges every marketer I speak with mentions. Then we'll get into the evolution of the buyer's journey to set a strong foundation moving forward before we dive into the meat or tofu of the presentation, which are 7 steps to creating a content marketing strategy. I saved some time for Q&A at the end, but if you do have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on them, but we will for sure come back to them at the end of the presentation. So that being said, let's dive in. Here are a bunch of brands that many of us are familiar with, whether we leverage them ourselves or not. And these are essentially companies with high share of markets. They're thought leaders. They're well established in their industries. They're widely recognized. They're aware of their customers' needs, and they're beneficiaries of brand equity. But how do you get to this place? It's not very easy. In fact, it takes a lot of collaboration between sales and marketing teams to really grow and establish strong brands. So to start, it's important to address the blockers. The top 3 marketing challenges I hear are 1, generating traffic and leads. I just can't fill my marketing pipeline. Or I have a bunch of marketing leads, but they're not converting it into the sales pipeline, which is a problem. The second is proving ROI. My marketing team is posting organically. We're using paid media. We are working on our SEO. Nothing's working. At the end of the day, I don't know how to prove the value of my efforts to my leadership team. Thus, I can't prove ROI. The third is securing the bag or the budget, ensuring that there's enough budget to grow and scale in the ways that your team wants to, that are going to create impact for the business. And here are some quick tips on how to overcome each when it comes to generating traffic and leads. It's things like A/B testing so that we can understand what works, what doesn't, diversifying our channels. So don't just double down on one social platform. There are so many, which we'll get into today, and quality content. For proving ROI, we want to focus on things like full attribution models, marketing and sales alignment, ROI versus KPIs. Again, we'll get into this later when we talk about building the content strategy. And then the third piece is securing enough budget. Good thing is when we can generate traffic, leads, and prove ROI, it becomes a lot easier to secure budget and thus quantify our results and tell a really strong story. But before getting into content strategy, I want to first begin with the evolution of the buyer's journey, because it's not the same, especially in this remote world. So to do that, I'd like to introduce you to Timmy. Timmy is like your average B2B buyer. And for those of you who come from B2C backgrounds, we'll address that as well. But here we can see Timmy is our buyer persona. He has a specific education level. He's in a specific vertical, which in this case is technology. We know he works at an organization that's 200 to 500 employees, so mid-size. He uses a variety of different tools from email to project management and cloud-based storage tools. But at the end of the day, his job is measured by employee satisfaction. So we know his goals are centered around improving employee satisfaction and increasing productivity. So now that we've established who Timmy is, it's important to understand what Timmy's purchasing process looked like previously. It was essentially very linear. He maybe went to a conference when everything was in person, and then met a salesperson who was really great, decided to have a follow-up call with them, followed by an on-site meeting, and then he purchased and became a happy customer. This was the standard linear buyer's journey that walked prospects through the funnel. But the challenge with this is it relied heavily on sales teams and had very little input from marketing. And as most of you on the call probably know, things have changed. The buyer's journey has evolved, and the buyers, are now in control. What this means is they're conducting their own research. And in fact, buyers are engaging with an average of 13 pieces of content before connecting with a salesperson. So that 70% of the buyer's journey is complete before a buyer reaches out to sales. This means your job as marketers is more important than ever. And buyers are being introduced to these brands through marketing, not sales. So what does Timmy's buyer's journey look like today? Well, he might be scrolling on a social platform like LinkedIn one evening when he then sees an interesting post, clicks through and lands on a blog, then realizes, oh my goodness, I need to take action. So then he discusses the topic with his team on Zoom, of course. And then he looks up some more research on a search platform like Google, where he then finds an ebook in the search archives and then finds an infographic to share with the team. So Timmy's journey is very dynamic. And as you can see, the sales call that once was the second step in his sales process is now toward the very end. There are a lot more opportunities that he's having through social media and content to engage with given brands and inform himself before connecting with sales reps. So with that being said, your marketing and sales motions have to align with your buyer's behaviors. Now, please share in the chat. I'll just pause quickly. Has anyone heard of inbound marketing? Can I get a yes, a no, maybe so? I have a no from Amy, quite a few yeses from Dan, Marty. Okay, quite a few, but Jose hasn't heard of it either. So inbound marketing, most are familiar with the idea of leads coming to you. Awesome. Oh, someone's heard of inbound marketing from HubSpot. You're ahead of the game. With that, inbound marketing is filling that funnel, right? So on the left, we see the traditional marketing and sales funnel where marketing is top of funnel, pushing those leads further down to sales and producing customers at the bottom as an output. HubSpot takes inbound marketing a step further to introduce the flywheel, which you see on the right. The flywheel integrates everyone from stranger to prospects to customers and promoters of a given brand. And the reason why we leverage a flywheel now rather than a funnel is because all the pieces connect to one another, and it allows customers to remain at the center in that CRM piece rather than being a mere output of your efforts. So we're working collaboratively to attract, engage, and delight throughout. So here's what inbound marketing looks like from start to finish in a more linear model. First, you have those strangers who are being introduced to your brand, going to your website, and then they convert into leads. And that's when sales takes over, where they begin to learn more about these prospects, quickly connect and nurture relationships so that they can be converted to customers. But our job's not done there. Then our customer success reps have to do a great job of delighting those customers so that they become our best type of marketing, free marketing, those brand promoters. So in holding on to inbound marketing, we want to create a flywheel effect where we're keeping customers at the center of every action that we do, whether it's a stranger or a brand promoter. So we need to add a second layer, which is content marketing. And content marketing, as you can see here, is the process of consistently publishing relevant content. I'm just going to pause there. Consistency is key to content marketing. We can't do one-off posts once a quarter. That doesn't work anymore. So consistently publishing relevant content that audiences want to consume in order to reach, engage, and convert. So still thinking along the lines of how to move people from a funnel into the flywheel by meeting them where they are and keeping customers at the forefront of our actions. So you may be thinking, all right, Aliyah, I heard of content marketing in your title of this presentation, but why is it so cool? Why should I care? Well, according to data, I love data, content marketing costs 62% less than traditional marketing. And it produces 3 times more leads per dollar invested. This is huge for our ROI piece. The third reason that I'll leave you with is that 70% of consumers say that content marketing makes them feel closer to a sponsoring company. So if your brand is practicing content marketing and producing engaging content, they're going to feel a lot closer to your brand, thus creating strong brand affinity, like some of the brands we started looking at to begin with, than your competitor who is just leveraging one form of one-off posts. So let's get into it. Content marketing strategy. Now that we know what content marketing is and why it's important, we're going to go through this 7-step strategy. So the first is defining your goal. Second, identifying your target audience. Third, conducting a content audit. Then we'll talk about selecting the right channel for your content. We'll get into determining the content formats, and then we'll quickly wrap up. You'll see how quick, one slide quick, quickly wrap up with publishing and monitoring your content and sharing results. Please feel free to drop those questions in the chat. It makes me feel like you're listening to me. So getting into it, first step is defining goals. Marketing goals. If there's anything you take away from this session, it's that marketing goals should be directly tied to revenue targets, always. We have KPIs and we have actual goals for the team. And when I was consulting marketers, the biggest challenge was helping marketers differentiate between the two. KPIs are going to help us reach our goals. So these are things like impressions, that describes how many prospects we're reaching. Engagement metrics, so clicks, mentions, shares, website session duration, and then conversions. Yes, even conversions can be considered KPIs. So who's subscribing to your blog or your newsletter, and at what rate are we growing these subscription numbers? How many form fills are we getting when we do try out a social media ad or a paid campaign on a given platform? All KPIs. Now, where we want to demonstrate the ROI is calculations like customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost your business to bring in these new customers? When you can decrease your customer acquisition cost, that's huge to leadership. When you can say that your marketing team has built a system that resulted in 50% pipeline attributed to marketing, that's huge. Same with being able to attribute X number of or X amount of revenue. So ensure that we are defining goals and differentiating between KPIs and ROI driven goals. And when defining goals, here's a quick example. You can leverage a tool like a marketing automated tool. This one is just a snapshot from Hubspot that breaks out each mode of your marketing channels and explains how much revenue is attributed to each. So you can see all the way on the right, we have meetings and marketing events. This data must be from the pandemic because marketing events, only $500 can be attributed to leads or pipeline generated from marketing events. Whereas on the left, there must be some great content being pumped out and shared with prospects because over $600,000 can be attributed to landing page assets. That's huge. When you can break down the impact each channel or asset is bringing and having to your organization, that's pivotal. But again, we want to tie it to dollar signs as much as possible. Here's another snapshot of metrics within a given marketing automated tool. So the first on the left-hand side, we can see sessions. So sessions on your websites, are they driven by direct traffic, by paid social, email marketing, social media? Here you can see how long each session is and what is the leading channel. Then on the right-hand side, you can use, again, marketing automated tools. All these screenshots are from HubSpot, but there are a variety out there where you can track the reach and audience that you're gaining, the number of interactions you have on a given post, the number of clicks and published posts. These are essential in building the narrative. They're just the start, but they help you to work toward those revenue-driven goals. KPIs are helpful, but they're not the end goal. So now let's go into step 2, identifying your target audience. We talked about Timmy. Timmy, in this case, was my target audience. It's a buyer persona, which is ultimately the semi-fictional, generalized human representation of your ideal customer. I think most of us know that here. So skip ahead and just note a variety of different characteristics you can leverage when targeting your ideal audience. The challenge is aligning with sales on the specific persona you want to go after in a given quarter, half, or year, because oftentimes marketers are going after one persona and sales are going after another. So when marketing has invested time and effort into building great pipeline, those marketing qualified leads don't translate to sales qualified leads, which is so frustrating. So here are some characteristics that we can leverage and understand, okay, sales reps, do we really want to focus on the personas that come from high annual revenue driving companies? Or do we just care about getting specific job functions in through the door because we know that we can further prospect? Or do you only want to talk to a director or a VP only? That's probably the biggest feedback I've heard when consulting marketers, is that sales reps only want to talk to C-suite. And that's not realistic all the time. But nonetheless, when we have these open channels of communication, it's extremely helpful. So the next stage is conducting a content audit. Things to consider: your inventory, performance, and internal and external alignment. So when looking at your inventory, what types of content have you created? What haven't you tried? And what can be repurposed? So when looking at what exists, maybe you have an ebook from last year that's gotten a little stale, but can you go in and highlight 3 key takeaways that you can then write a blog post about to make it brand new? Or can you have one of your leaders, VP, C-suite, come in and record a 3-minute video about those highlights and share that with your prospective customers on your social media posts? These are ways to create evergreen content that keeps the conversation going. Third piece, the internal and external alignment. We talked a little bit about this at HubSpot. We like to call it marketing, but it's important to ensure that we're driving results that the business cares about, not just the marketing team or org, but the entire business. So does your content provide value? This is more so alignment externally with your prospects. Do they care about every solution that you have to offer? Well, not if they don't realize that they have a problem yet. So it might be that a prospect very early in the buyer's journey needs an ungated asset that doesn't ask for any commitment, like a blog or a video, because it's informative, it's quick, and they can move on. But someone who is deep in the sales funnel might just need to hear 1 or 2 testimonials that your marketing team has in their back pocket to truly convert to a full customer. So when conducting your content audit, ensure that you are asking yourselves these questions. I'll pause. Please feel free to drop in the chat. Are there other questions that you're asking yourself or your team when conducting content audits? Chat's kind of slow. Okay, I hear some now. Okay, at what point do you throw type of content out? Good one. I have a specific map for that. Does content audit involve searching for keywords? It definitely can, right? What keywords have you already tried to optimize for in SEO? And which ones are your competitors leveraging? How to create engaging content with lowest costs. We'll get into that a little bit too. Great questions to be asking. And what if it's a one-person business? Then you're going to be busy, but you can still do this. And these 7 steps will still work for you. All right, we're going to move forward. The next step is identifying the key players in content channels. So here are a bunch. Hopefully most of them look familiar to you. But ultimately the takeaway is there are so many. There's Reddit, Snapchat, Google, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, and the list goes on. These are just the main players that I have leveraged with my startups that I consult. So there are so many out there, but when considering and selecting a given channel, we need to really evaluate cost. The cost per click, cost per lead on each of these channels is going to be very different. These are upfront costs. However, at the same time, we also want to consider the cost for customer acquisition. So A lead on LinkedIn may be $100 for your business, and a lead on Facebook may be $10. But if the quality of lead on LinkedIn is great and 20% of those leads actually convert into deals versus 5% from Facebook, then it actually might be a better strategy to double down on the LinkedIn channel rather than the Facebook. It's a common comparison that I get a lot. So I highly encourage you to look, of course, at upfront costs, but the back end costs. And that's what you can leverage your marketing automated tool for, is to really attribute different leads and pipeline to each channel. So think about these things and also consider the buyer behaviors on each platform. Where are your buyers spending their time? Number one. And number two, what type of content do they like to consume on each channel? I'll be honest, when I'm on the Facebook or Metas of the world, I'm scrolling through vacation pictures, maybe a funny cat video. So I'm in a different headspace than when I'm scrolling through LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn, I'm thinking of my personal brand, how to grow my business, how to grow my network. So it's important to understand where your customers frequent, but also the type of content they like to engage on each platform and the mindset that they have when they're on these different channels. So next, I will just call out some of these questions. I see them coming in. There's so many. I don't want to pause and answer them all, but we will come back to them. The one on is Twitter worth the energy makes me laugh because I used to think no, but I will just quickly address, if you are a startup looking to fundraise, it's absolutely worth your time. So that's a little tidbit that I'll add there. But when talking about determining the content and formats, we want to incorporate these best practices. The first is creating buyer-focused content. Again, going back to the idea of inbound and that flywheel model. The customer is what we care about at every single stage. It doesn't matter if they're a stranger to the brand or a brand promoter. We care about everyone, and we need to understand what each person or individual business is looking to gain from us as their supplier or solution. So when creating buyer-focused content, we need to A/B test. Try what you think will work. Try what your coworker up the hall thinks will work. Try what your competitors have tried. Get a good understanding of what works well for your brand. And the only way to do that is to A/B test. This is with copy, creative, channels, everything. In moderation, of course. Can't A/B test everything at one point, but prioritize specific A/B tests in each quarter. Add value. Always, always add value. I'm here today hoping that everything I share with you is adding value. And similarly, I challenge you to go to your customers and your prospects, and in each interaction with them, lead with value. Also want to consider design content for buyers in each stage of the buyer's journey. We just looked through Timmy's dynamic experience. And if we only post one blog, there's no way we're going to get him to actually connect with sales because he's looking for 12 other pieces of content. So design content for each stage of the buyer's journey. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. And then include clear call to actions in each asset. Download this blog, join us for the webinar, register here. There has to be an action. Otherwise, even your prospects who have the highest intent won't be able to convert. And identify what content already exists, of course. When considering mapping out logistics, we want to do this early, and we want to create a content calendar. This actually can be quite fun when you automate with tools because you can set it and forget it. You can post titles and descriptions within an automated tool, and they will be posted for whatever date that you set as the publishing date. Leverage tools. I'm telling you, the more you can automate, the better, especially for my one-person businesses. Here's a quick example of creating content at each stage of the funnel. When we look at top of funnel, again, it's those ungated assets that provide value. Blog posts, social media updates, infographics, videos, podcasts. How many of you have proposed to someone on your very first date? I'm not even going to pause for that long because I really hope it's nobody. But if you did, you might get some strong reactions from people or some awkward faces. And that's what solely posting bottom of the funnel content can provoke, as those strong reactions of like, whoa, 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 I don't need your demo, or I don't need your trial. This person might not even know that they have a problem yet, and they need to be educated on your space, your industry, and the challenges you solve for with top of funnel content. Middle of the funnel content is a little meatier or heavier on the tofu. And that's things like those ebooks, those white papers, reports, guides, lists of resources, webinars. All of these things allow you to then have an ask. So in these middle of funnel assets, we want to collect information. This is where we're collecting our leads, of course. And then bottom of the funnel, we have an even higher ask. Now that we've courted them with some top of funnel content, courted them a bit more, shown them all of our great opportunities through middle of the funnel content, we can then leverage bottom of the funnel content like testimonials and demos to truly turn them from sales prospects into customers. All of these slides will be shared with you, so do not feel the need to screenshot everything or jot everything down. You will get this image in addition to all of the slides at the end of this. So I told you I would show you what automating with tools look like. I'm not a liar. This is an example of automating content and formats and using tools to create social posts. So here is, going back to Twitter, here's an example of a post that we can make from a third-party tool. So this is a user who's leveraging HubSpot to post from Biglytics, gets a little complicated, onto Twitter. So there are 3 parties involved in this, but everything is automated in one platform, the marketing automated tool, which is HubSpot. And we have the title, the copy, the landing page, and everything that a prospect is going to need to see. And we also have the ability to set the date that we want to schedule this post for. This is essential when bandwidth is limited. We also use tools to manage your content calendar. So maybe you've outlined all of your posts, but then you want to go in and select the specific time, or you want to make one post immediately, or you meant to post it for a week before. Things are changing in our timelines all the time. Using these types of tools will allow you to do just that. Next is publishing and monitoring your content. This is not only one of my favorite slides, but the fun part. You've put in all the legwork ahead of time. Now you get to share your efforts with the world, with your prospects, and watch the engagement rise. And then lastly, share your results with leadership. So once you have been able to track and measure all of these different attributes and selected your full automated marketing system that is helping you to track along the way, produce ROI results, you share that with leadership. We're nearing the end. It's almost time for questions, which is great. Keep them coming in the chat. But I want to leave you with 4 takeaways. The first is to align your marketing motions with the evolving buyer's journey. It's always changing, but today was a great depiction of what it's looked like over the last year or 2 and what it's likely going to look like in the next 2 to 3. The second takeaway is that content marketing can be used to solve the 3 challenges that marketers often face: generating leads, proving ROI, and securing more budget. Third, you can build a content strategy. You can do it. It is 7 steps. We just walked through them all. And there are also blogs to supplement this workshop if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of each step. Number 4, marketing content and goals should be directly tied to revenue. If you can't tie it back to revenue, it's going to be hard to get more budget, and it's going to be difficult and frustrating for you and your team to feel like you're truly creating impact on the business. So that being said, It's time for Q&A. Throw your questions at me.
Aliyah, that was a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much for that. Really got a lot of great content out of it. And I think it was really educational for a lot of our community here. As Aliyah said, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I think both of us will be fielding them here. I'll kind of just be reading them aloud just for the audience that might be watching this recording. This recording will be posted on Passport and on our YouTube channel as well. So I'll be kind of vocalizing what the community is saying in our Q&A. That being said, feel free to stick your questions in either chat or Q&A. We'll kind of be scrolling through there. I want to touch on Juan Gomez's question first, because I think it has a really good lead in to something that's really topical right now, which was the iOS changes to privacy issues and things like that. Definitely did a number to a lot of people's ROIs and like customer acquisition costs for a lot of social media platforms. Maybe we'll stick with his question first, but then we can talk about the broader scheme of it. So let's talk about retargeting. What does it look like when you need to change your strategy kind of mid-year or things like that, whenever the ROIs start to wildly swing in one or two different ways? And then maybe I would like to pick your perspective on what the iOS changes did to content marketing in 2022.
Absolutely. So it's a pretty loaded question. Let me know if I missed some pieces. But the way I think of targeting is that when thinking about the funnel or flywheel, we want to cast the widest net up top with the value add content that doesn't ask for anything. So those blogs, videos, you name it, everything at the top, we want to share with any and everyone, whether they're a decision maker or not, so long as we have the budget. Budget should be the only binding thing here. If budget is limitless, then we want to invest here so that we can have more people convert to middle of the funnel content where we're sharing gated assets. And then we want to retarget that audience with bottom of funnel content. Because again, I'm not really into first date proposals, and I don't think most people are. So if you are similar to me, then you want to retarget people with bottom of the funnel content. There's specific content that is great for retargeting audiences and content that's great for anyone. And it really just goes top to bottom. That's one piece. Two is get creative in how you are reaching your audience. So the more direct traffic you can drive to your site and more personal information that you can collect, the better, because you can create your own retargeting audiences independent of what's going on with iOS, right? As soon as you have a prospect's information, their contact information, first, last name, whatever else is needed for your form fills, they are within your audience who can be retargeted. So my approach is drive as much traffic as possible with helpful content and then get them to convert immediately. On platforms like LinkedIn, you're targeting based off of professional fields, job, function, company size, things of that sort. So although you may not have those people in your audience already, you can still target them without a pixel. Whereas other platforms like I use Google and LinkedIn all the time just because they typically yield the most results and are what I'm most familiar with, candidly. With Facebook, the targeting facets are going to be a little bit more different. And since conversion rates can be a little lower, you want to make sure that it truly is going a long way there. But ABM, account-based marketing, another way to retarget. At the end of the day, grow your audiences as much as possible so that you can just retarget those within your given CRM.
Great. And just to pick your brain on the iOS portion of that and kind of that bombshell, just to maybe touch on that topical nature of it. Have you seen a lot of impact to the startups that you're kind of counseling in their kind of marketing strategies? Have they kind of approached you and been like, what do we do here?
So to be honest, the startups that I coach now are a lot smaller than the ones I was coaching when I was with larger organizations. So when I was at larger organizations, it was a huge challenge that everyone was really fearful of. But since the announcements were made well over a year now, I think people are starting to feel more equipped with the right resources to build their audiences. But at the end of the day, if you're relying solely on pixel firings and the ability to just retarget anyone who's been to your website and hasn't actually completed a form fill or anything of that sort, then that's going to be problematic.
I got you. Some more great questions here. I think a good one that we can kind of put a little emphasis on is kind of shelf life of content. And you mentioned it before, like content can get stale at different cadences. Blogs have a certain amount of shelf life compared to video content and things like that, or event content. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about, okay, what's your average shelf life for, say, a XYZ media type? And then when should you start to look at those pieces of content to generate evergreen content? Maybe is it based off of engagement, or is it based off of what kind of metrics are you using to generate content down the line based off of that previous content you created?
Yeah, with B2C space, content can become stale a lot faster, but so that you have to continually keep a pulse on the trends within a given space. But on the B2B side, people are actually really surprised to find that content can be posted without being repurposed for much longer. So an ebook can run for at least a quarter, probably even 2 to 3, so long as it's not something that's promoting trends in a given month. I don't want to download an asset that says top trends for February, right? But if it's top trends of 2021, then that's different and it's still relevant anytime throughout that year. So the title of your content is actually quite important, but the content within it can be leveraged for much, much longer, especially if it is a dense ebook or infographic that's continuously providing value. That being said, when it comes to creating evergreen content, anything can be turned into evergreen content. So I would leverage performance metrics to understand what is gaining the most traction. What are people clicking on the most? What are people downloading the most? And use that to repurpose. So if we have a blog that's highlighting a event that happened last month, well, we just extended the shelf life of that event, the webinar, because now people are consuming this blog. If we then have someone speak to what is written in the blog in a 2-minute video, that's another asset. It's evergreen. And if we host the event that already took place months ago on a landing page that is summarizing the highlights and allowing people to still access the event, I mean, so long as the content's still relevant, we're good to go on that.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I like the fact that you don't even have to reskin the content. You can just link back to it, refer back to it. You don't actually even have to do any kind of like additional work on top of it besides resurfacing it for the community. A couple of other questions have come in through here, and I think one of these is really good. Seth had a great point. How much content should be generated in-house versus outsourced? There's a lot of members here in the attendees, I think, are running on like 1, 2, 3-man teams or woman teams. So kind of what are some low-hanging fruits that you can take care of by yourself? And then when should you start to look externally to kind of like for ghostwriting or XYZ, things like that?
Yeah, I can say from personal experience, when first starting my business, there were 2 of us, and one of us, myself, took on the marketing piece. And it wasn't until probably a year or 2 into it that we actually brought on someone to take it off of my plate, right? So it really is a matter of bandwidth, but marketing is the number one way to grow your brand, really at any stage of the business, but especially in the beginning, because under marketing, you have content marketing, which we discussed today. You have partnerships, depending on how you want to structure it. You also have your product marketing. And so it can get very intricate quickly. But as far as what to keep in-house, what to actually send to outsource, it's really going to depend on your bandwidth. So if your team has the ability to talk to your product side, even if it's the left side of your brain versus the right side, having this conversation and taking the time to reflect, you want to be able to do as much in-house as possible, because internal employees know the brand best. I've consulted a number of startups who were just not on the same page as their marketing agencies, and it actually causes a lot of challenges because performance isn't high, and then the customer's looking at the agency like, what's going on? And the agency says, well, you told us you just wanted to get high clicks. Yeah, but clicks and conversions, or whatever the case may be. So there tends to be a misalignment on not only the performance metrics, but also the story that wants to be told and the target audience, which thus impacts the ability to convert leads from marketing qualified leads to sales qualified leads.
Excellent. Thanks for that. I think we have some additional questions here as well. And I think we might leave the HubSpot and how it does its magic for the end there. So we'll leave that question towards the end. But maybe we'll go with Yash's question here. How do you suggest around creating good content at lower cost? So content marketing is in and of itself is like 61% more effective than traditional marketing streams, things like that. At the end of the day, though, content marketing is a broad category. There's a lot of things that kind of fall into that, right? So low-hanging fruit for those 1 to 2 small teams, what is easy to do, easy to accomplish content marketing that feels like a founder would be capable of doing it?
I would recommend creating one asset at each level of the funnel. So there are a variety of types of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel assets, as you saw, but go through and understand what's the easiest. For me, I like to write. So I can write a blog post probably in a half hour. And if I challenge myself, I could probably do that consistently on a monthly basis. Others, not so much. They might say, actually, having my co-founder get in front of a camera and give a quick recap on what we're excited about or how we're helping a customer for 2 minutes is a lot easier than writing a blog post. So pick one type of format in each stage of the funnel and remain consistent. So share that blog with any and everyone and let them know they can expect another one. When it comes to middle of the funnel, create a stellar ebook and ensure that any prospect who knows they have a challenge you can solve for is leveraging it. And then get 2 to 3 really great customer testimonials for bottom of the funnel content and spread them like wildfire. I shouldn't use that reference. I live in California. It's really bad, but share them with everyone, essentially.
It could only have been more topical if you said spread COVID.
My goodness.
Yeah. That being said, yeah, thanks for that. I think we had a couple more questions from people that they had really specific buyer personas. I think it was. We had one with with a certain market cap and a certain size, as well as a very niche team of I'm targeting only enterprises of 1 to 5 people in this B2B market. So maybe you can speak to whenever you're setting up your persona there, how do you identify? What are the steps that you go through where you identify the channels that they're participating in, where you can plug your content? What's your strategy there for identifying the channels that your persona is participating in?
So when identifying those channels and just understanding where they frequent most, it's easy to just search for people. So for keeping the LinkedIn and Facebook examples alive, for LinkedIn, I might go in and search the specific job function, not title, because title can be different at any company, but search a specific job function to understand how many of these professionals are on the platform. Or if I'm looking for a given business, same thing. How many businesses with 200 to 500 employees exist here? And I know the targeting features differ from channel to channel, which makes it a little bit more challenging, but it's really the same principle. Conduct those quick searches ahead of time and leverage quick blog posts I love blogs, if you couldn't tell, but leverage quick blog posts because you can just digest them in 2 minutes and see what people in your industry are leveraging most. You want to be a trailblazer and try something new, but that doesn't have to be with the type of channel you're leveraging. It could be the type of asset that you're sharing on a given channel.
Okay. We have a few minutes left here, so I definitely want to get to Shelly's question about HubSpot's automation tool. But yeah, in terms of length of blog posts, I feel like I think everybody's kind of in agreement here. Like blog post is kind of one of those things that everybody feels like they can do. They feel like they can at least contribute or take a stab at it pretty quickly. So in terms of content and length and things like that, what would a good boilerplate be for a blog post in terms of like length, size, shape?
Yeah, I would say somewhere around 1,000 words, 500 to 1,000, because you want to succinctly get a point across. Sometimes you want to add in a couple of examples, and then you want to really drive home why what you just shared is valuable. And oftentimes you want to pepper in some data within. So be as succinct and as possible. That's really the key to it. But I would say anywhere from 500 to 1,000 words. It's like a college essay.
I like that. Speak as much as you need to, not as much as you maybe want to, right? I
Exactly.
think that's a lot of things that happen in marketing. We like to talk outwardly, and so we kind of might scare people off. But being succinct is also pretty important. We have roughly 5 minutes left, so maybe we'll get to Shelly's question here. So you can step a little bit into HubSpot's platform just to talk a little bit about it and its automation tools here, just to let people know that these kinds of tools exist. So feel free. The community, by the way, all Passport members have 30% off the HubSpot platform. So if you would like to leverage the tools that Aliyah's kind of spoken about today, and kind of the software that she's been kind of referring to, that's definitely a route to go about it. But yeah, Aliyah, can you kind of show us a little bit about the automation tools and things like that as well?
Yes. So everyone is able to access the CRM for free. Easy peasy. Just go on and sign up. But what Zach was saying is very true. One Valley general members have the ability to access our additional tools for up to 30% off. And then One Valley Pro, Passport Pro members actually are eligible for up to 90% off. So take advantage. But ultimately, the tools that are most relevant to what we're talking about today are the automated marketing features. And so in that, you can go in and build a full attribution model. This is huge. Full attribution model is going to tell you which channels and which ad formats or ad campaigns are actually leading to tangible results. And not just to results, but which is performing best, how much revenue can we attribute to each channel or each campaign. And these are the numbers that we want to share with leadership. So in essence, we are the calculators on the back end. That's one piece. The second piece is having the ability to schedule your posts and your content timelines within the tool. So instead of managing 4 to 5 different channel platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, you schedule all of your posts across these channels within one tool on HubSpot. And then you can go back and manage your what we call content timeline accordingly.
Great. And yeah, I know it's really hard to kind of actually do the full demo here at the very end of the webinar. If you'd like to learn more, there's plenty of content. They also have free CRM materials, plenty of written stuff on this. Also, it is a free to try kind of model. So feel free to get your hands dirty, get in there, and start scheduling some of those posts yourself just to try it out. And the 90% discount ongoing for each year for premium members, I believe that is the case, but I'll double check with Aliyah's team to make sure that is actually the case. And I'll get back to you, Yash. That being said, we're kind of rounding out on time, so maybe we have time for one last question if somebody wants to squeeze it in here. Other than that, I just want to thank everybody for participating, and I guess I'll let Aliyah have the last couple of minutes to say final few words to round us out.
Yeah, I would just say thank you so much for your time. You've been an extremely engaged audience. I do see a couple more questions in the Q&A, so happy to rapid fire some answers there if that's helpful. But other than that, we will send the recording and the slides out. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to rapid fire on the Q&A.
Let's do it.
Great. So first one I'm seeing is, what is the best platform to do B2B marketing? I will be 100% honest. I am 100% biased. I think that most professionals spend their time on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn itself knows that. So they're even working on expanding the stereotypical definition of what a professional is, so that whether you're working with contractors, educators, government officials, tech workers, the like, they're going to be on that platform, and it's going to allow you to have amazing targeting. So again, 100% biased, but I truly have seen it work for hundreds of startups and mid-market companies. Next is, our content marketing and SEO similar? SEO can fit within the umbrella of content marketing. So SEO is just one of the ways that we want to spread word of your brand and reach your audience, target your audience, right, through the micro targeting, but it is just one of the many layers under the large umbrella of content marketing. Then I see, when doing content marketing, do you recommend guest posting on other blogs, not just social media? Absolutely. The more partnerships you can establish, especially early on, the better. And actually, rather than outsourcing work to a marketing agency or a contractor, one way to do more with less is to have guest writers come in for you and co-write with your blog. That's something that we as HubSpot, even the size that we're at now, continue to do. I'm looking at Tyler's question. How do you get started with content marketing specifically to niche markets? For example, we sell our product to national professional associations. Very similarly, you want to micro target. Once you understand what the buyer persona characteristics look like, which it sounds like you do, understand where they frequent and how you can get in front of them, solely them. Another reason why I do love LinkedIn specifically for B2B marketing is because you can target by organization size and their annual revenue. All right. I see, I think one more, and then we are definitely at time. But if my product is the content on my website, should I go for retargeting or similar audience? I think I understand this question. If I'm a little off, let me know. But ultimately, if your product is the content, we got to create a little bit more content, Samantha, because we want to give away the goods, but we have to educate people on why these are the goods that we're giving away. And so rather than focusing specifically on features, products, tools, you want to provide solutions. So match the problems they're experiencing with the solution you're providing, not necessarily the name of a product or a feature. That being said, I hope I answered most of these questions, but I can definitely be available to you through Zach in our partnership. So thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to connecting with you all in the future.
Aliyah, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And I think our community appreciates it as well. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.